Hey guys, welcome back. And it has been a long time since I've shown my face on the channel. No reason really, just been focused on my off-season previews, which you guys have really been enjoying. So I do appreciate that. The draft combine just happened this past weekend. There were some big risers and some big fallers this week. So I'm going to be breaking down 10 offensive guys and 10 defensive guys that I think rose or fell. You got 5 winners, 5 losers. I think this is going to be a very fun video. But before I get into it, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you are new. You guys have been killing it on the shorts I've been uploading. I've been uploading some shorts about different 40-yard dash, broad jump, long jumps. Absolutely crushed it. We are so close to 500 subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. But without further ado, let's take a closer look at some of these risers and fallers. Let's start with one of the biggest risers to me, and that is Nolan Smith out of Georgia. 40-yard dash, 4.39 seconds. Great 10-yard split, 41.5-inch vertical leap. Good broad jump and didn't compete in anything else. The bench times I'm not going to have for all of them because not everyone has competed in the bench. Nolan Smith was fantastic, though. Took the football world by storm. A guy who probably would be a top 20 pick, got injured, had a pec injury, came back, and he was fantastic. Didn't look like he missed a step. His speed was fantastic, and this is a guy who was really highly recruited coming out of college or coming out of high school, going to Georgia. The potential is there. We've seen him produce on the field, and now that we kind of can get a view on how healthy he is, measured out really well too, 6'2", 238 pounds. I think Nolan Smith has solidified himself as a top 20 pick, and you guys will be seeing that. I will be having a mock draft go up tomorrow, probably at about midnight, and then we will be continuing my off-season previews. So we got a ton of videos planned. I loved what I saw from Nolan Smith, though, and he was a big winner for me. A loser here is Jalen Carter. Now, he didn't compete in anything, but it's the situation surrounding him. We don't know what's going to happen. He could be in a ton of trouble. We kind of talked about this on one of my shorts I did. He is right now in some legal issues, was charged with a misdemeanor, reckless driving. A couple of people ended up losing their lives, unfortunately. He wasn't the person that was involved in the crash. He wasn't the person who hit the car. It was a street race from what I understand. Either way, I think Jalen Carter lost this week. I think he hurt his draft stock. He was the top player on my board. And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to go number 1 to the Bears. I think they're going to trade it to this team right here. Either way, I don't think he's going to be the first defensive player off the board anymore. I think Will Anderson, and I think Tyree Wilson might end up getting that spot as well. Jalen Carter hurt his draft stock. I still think he goes in the top 10, but definitely hurt himself with what happened, and we'll see what ends up happening. Kalijah Cansey out of Pitt. Fantastic showing from him. Looked awesome. Now, the big question with him is his size. Standing at 6'1", 281 pounds. Really undersized for an interior defensive lineman. He's getting Aaron Donald comparisons. You see the college, Pitt, undersized interior defensive guy. But he ran incredibly well. 4.67 with a 1.64 10-yard split. Great numbers from him. And this is really interesting. Tested out really well. I believe that was the fastest speed for an interior defensive line guy since 2003. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kalijah Cansey was awesome. A guy who I had as a fringe late first-round guy. I think another guy solidified himself in that first round. And not only that, I think he is now my D tackle too. I think he's jumped Brian Brzee in my rankings. The production was there at Pitt. He was fantastic. Tested out incredibly well. It is the shorter arms. It is the shorter size. But Kalijah Cansey can play, and we saw that on full display at the Combine, and he was a big winner for me. A loser here was Jacqueline Roy out of LSU. Didn't participate in the 40, 10-yard split, or any of the jumps. His 20-yard shuttle was not great. He benched okay. The 3-cone was terrible. He just ranked in the drills he did towards the bottom of all of the categories. And he was up there with like a guy like PJ Mustipher. I feel like him running could have helped him. I think he hurt his draft stock a little bit. PJ Mustipher, projected UDFA guy. Jacqueline Roy was not that great. Unfortunately, I think he hurt his stock a little bit. So I'm interested to see what happens with him. Obviously, they still have their pro days coming, but I don't think he helped his draft stock here. A guy who did, though, Adetomiwa Adebawore. Put this guy in your first round. Shout out to Bro Schmo. He put me onto this guy, started doing a little bit of study, and then the way he performed at the combine, absolutely fantastic. 4.49 40-yard dash, 1.61 10-yard splits. He jumped really well. He's strong. This guy's really quick off the edge. He's going to be a power rusher off the edge. I absolutely like this guy a ton. I think I had him. He was in like my 60s, 70s. I think he is right there between like 30 and 45. I think he will get picked in that range. He looked phenomenal at the combine. I could see a team like the Eagles or Chiefs taking him at the back end of the first round. Really loved what he showed. Big winner for me. I'm going to be interested to see how his stock continues to rise. A guy who I was high on at the beginning of the year, and he just really has fallen down my board, and that continued here, was Andre Carter II. Didn't run. His vertical leap was not good, 30 inches. Broad jump also not good, 9.1. 20-yard shuttle, okay, that was all right. His bench, only 11 reps. Yikes. That's not very good for a guy who's going to be playing off the edge. You need to be strong off the edge. Didn't run at all. And then his athleticism, his burst, just not good. 6'6" and a half, 256 pounds. Good player the first couple of seasons. Did not have that last great season. Fell down boards, and his draft stock, I think, took a hit here. Big loser for me. Deonte Banks might be making bank after how he played. Another guy similar to Kalijah Kancey. Fringe first rounder, I think he goes top 20 now. I think he has leaped a couple of guys in my cornerback rankings, so we'll get to another guy. He jumped later on. 4.35 40-yard dash. You run in the 4.3s, that's fantastic. Great vertical leaps and broad jumps. He was everywhere. Good size at 6 foot, 197. Really, really like what he showed. I think he is going to be one of the first 5 corners off the board. He will be a first round pick. I think he's going to be a really good player. Loved what I saw from him at the combine. My favorite corner in the draft is Devon Witherspoon. I'm going to say it. He did not help his draft stock. Didn't test out very well. 5'11 and a half, 181. A little bit small for a corner. Didn't run. Didn't participate in any drills. He did have a hamstring that kept him out. And it's not really anything he did. Obviously, the measurements are not great. We knew coming in he was going to be a little bit undersized. My issue here with Devon Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter were phenomenal. They both looked really good. He didn't participate here. He's going to need to have a stellar pro day if he wants to stay in that top 2 corners on the board. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it. I love Devon Witherspoon. Like I said, he was my CB1. Gonzalez jumped him. Joey Porter and him are tied right now. If Witherspoon does not have a great pro day, I think he falls to CB3. Who knows what's going to happen, but didn't measure out well, and then the other guys performed. I think he took a hit this week. Byron Young out of Tennessee, awesome performance from him. 4.43 40-yard splits, good 10-yard splits, or 40-yard dash, good splits as well. Athletic. This is a guy who I believe is listed as, some people have him listed as defensive tackle. He's a predominantly edge rusher, 6'2", 250 pounds, benched really good. He's strong. A guy who I think might go at the back end of the second round. I think he might be a early round 3 guy, but he jumped up. I think he performed really well, really looked like a solid piece, and I think he could be a really nice player at the next level. And then I talked about a corner we would be getting to, and it's Emmanuel Forbes. You look at the testing numbers, he tested well. Great 40-yard dash, ran the 4.3s, good 10-yard splits, athletic, good broad jump, great vertical leap. Look at this right here. 6'1", 166 pounds. That is extremely small for a cornerback. And I think that's where Deonte Banks has jumped. He's jumped Emmanuel Forbes for me. That's very alarming to me. I know that's not the way he plays it. I believe he plays at about 175, 180. But for him to go down to 166 and only be a few pounds heavier, that's still really small to have 175 pounds on a corner. I mean, that's a little alarming to me. I still think he's going to be one of the first. I think he could go late first round, early round 2. We'll see what happens, but he definitely hurt his stock, I think, with the way he came in and weighed. Here we go to the offense, and Anthony freaking Richardson. I don't even know. He tested off the charts 4.43 40-yard dash. His vertical leap was the highest ever for a quarterback at 40.5 inches. This dude's an athletic freak. We knew that coming in. He put on a show in Indianapolis, and the whole world saw it. Now people are on to this guy. I would be shocked if he is not selected in the top 5 at this point. With the way he just played, he's been getting some buzz as number 1. His odds moved up in Vegas a couple weeks ago. There's been some buzz. Now you can see why. Didn't answer all the question marks. We know he's got an arm. We know he's got incredible speed. And he's an incredible athlete. Can he fit the ball in the tight windows? Can he make all the throws? Can he be accurate all the time? Those are the questions I have with Anthony Richardson. But I think a team is going to take a flyer on this guy super high. I wouldn't even be mad about it. This was incredible. He's definitely put the league on notice, and he could end up being a superstar if this ends up panning out and working if he goes to the right situation. Kayshon Boutte, awful season at LSU and just another really bad day. 4.5 in the 40s, not a good vertical leap. A short broad jump as well. 20-yard shuffle was okay. Shuttle, I keep mixing those two words up. He was all right. He was projected to go in the second round. Those are not numbers you want from a second round guy. He doesn't seem to have that burst, that athleticism off the jump, as you see in his vertical leap. 29 inches is extremely low. Not the fastest guy either. And his production at the last year of LSU was not there. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I think he still goes in round 3. I don't think he's a second round pick now, though. Zack Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. Awesome showing from him at 6'7", 255 pounds. You run a 4.55. That's some very impressive stuff. 40-inch vertical leap, 10 feet, 8-inch broad jump, ran a good 3-cone. I mean, he did all the stuff that he needed to do. Tested out good on the bench, 23 reps. Definitely moved up my board. I think I had him probably as a 5th, 6th round guy. He might go in the round 3-4 area now. Really performed well at the combine. And that's what the combine's about. You take all this stuff with a grain of salt, but if you test really well and you put on a show, like, it does help your draft stock a little bit. And I think Zack Kuntz definitely helps his draft stock. Michael Mayer's a guy who ran a 4.7 40-yard dash, 1.6 10-yard splits, 32.5 vertical, and then a 9.10 in the broad jump. Not great numbers. Now, like I said, we knew coming in he was not going to test off the charts. We kind of knew that coming into this. I wasn't expecting that. That was not a good showing from him whatsoever. I still think he probably goes in round 1 because the production was there at Notre Dame. Incredible blocker. He's a reliable pass catcher in the middle of the field. With the way Zack Kuntz played, with the way Darnell Washington played, I mean, you got some really good tight ends. I think Darnell Washington might be tight end 1. He was phenomenal. He's not on this list. Jose Ramirez on the defensive side, another honorable mention. But Michael Mayer disappointed me. Blake Freeland tested really well today at the offensive tackle position, getting comps to Lane Johnson, which I absolutely love, actually. 4.9 40-yard dash for a guy who's 302 pounds. That's really impressive. Good vertical leaps, good broad jumps. Tested really well athletically. I like what I saw from him. Jumped up my offensive tackle rankings. I think he's more of a round 3 guy, but jumped up. I know one of my friends was telling me definitely does give them vibes from Bernard Ryman last year, who was not a fan of him on this team, but who knows? I like what I saw from Blake Freeland today. Tank Dell, man, I had very high expectations for him coming into the combine. 4.49 40, 1.49 splits, broad jump was a 10.1, 5'8", 165 pounds. This is a guy who's known for his speed, and he ran in the 4.49s. I just feel that's low. I think he could have run a 4.3 or a higher 4.4. The speed wasn't there, and he's super tiny. 5'8", 165 pounds. He's going to get beat up out there. We knew that coming in, that he was tiny, but the numbers are a little staggering, and I definitely think he fell down my draft board a little bit. Jackson Smith-Njigba, though, didn't run, but he did everything else. His jumps, the vertical and the broad jumps, they were okay. The 3-cone was fantastic. 6.5 seconds in the 3-cone. Good 20-yard shuttle. Great size. The only reason he'd fallen down draft boards is because he was injured last year. We forget Jackson Smith-Njigba at times was the best wide receiver on the field with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on that team. Jackson Smith-Njigba can play. He showed it today. He looked really nice. Is he wide receiver 1? Not on my board. I still got Johnston. Him and Jordan Addison might be 2A, 2B. I think Njigba could be the first wide receiver off the board. Not saying he will be the best, but I definitely think he has a very good chance of being the first off the board. Speaking of Jordan Addison, I think he really struggled. 4.49 again for another guy who's a little bit undersized. You're supposed to be known for your speed. Vertical leaps weren't there. The broad jump wasn't fantastic. 5'11", 173. 43rd according to PFF in terms of athleticism score. That's pretty low. He did have a hamstring, tweaked the hammy, and ended up missing the rest of it. A little disappointed for Jordan Addison. I felt like if he was going to be wide receiver 1, this was his time to make a statement and separate himself, and he wasn't able to do that. So how does that affect his draft stock? I don't think it really does. I still think he goes in the top 25, but I'll be interested to see what happens there. Bijan Robinson, we know he's the best running back in this class. 4.46. I mean, his splits were good. His broad jump, his vertical leap, he tested incredibly. I'm going to say it. He's going to be a top 10 pick. I would be shocked if he is not selected in the top 10 or 15 picks. I think Detroit could take him at 6. I think Philly could take him at 10. I mean, there are some teams there. Could Atlanta go crazy here and take him at 8? Very possible. If Carolina doesn't have a quarterback there, I mean, Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to go very high, and people need to get used to that idea. He was fantastic today. I'm more and more in love with what I'm seeing from him every time he comes out onto the field. Tested really well, but his tape is so smooth. It's the injuries that might hold him back on people's boards, but Bijan Robinson is going to be a superstar player and definitely played like it today. And the last faller for me was Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati. Another guy similar to Tank Dell. Pretty underwhelming 40 time considering how he played on the field. He's a speedster. Pretty underwhelming 40 for me, but who knows? I still think he's probably a 4 or 5 round guy. Who knows what's going to end up happening there. Cannot wait for the NFL draft. We will be doing weekly mocks, not next week, not the week of the 13th. I will be doing a mock tomorrow, but the week after that, we will be starting weekly mocks leading up to the draft. I've got a couple of huge guests scheduled. I cannot wait to do it with. I can't wait for you guys to see who they are. But that's going to do it for me in this video. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.